Hello and welcome. My name is David Macon. Today's talk is called Wicked Galilean. A quick geography lesson of Israel at the time of Jesus. We have Samaria, then we have Galilee, which is north of Samaria, and we have Judea, where Jerusalem is, which is south of Judea. Now, the Judeans did not have a good opinion of Galileans, but today I'm talking about Luke 13, verses 1 through 5. And what jumped out at me there is that Jesus says the same thing two times. He says, I tell you no, unless you repent, you too shall perish. That's in Luke 1:3. And then in 1:5, he says, I tell you no, unless you repent, you too shall perish. Now that kind of jumped out at me. Why would Jesus say that twice? Well, let me give a little bit of background. He's being asked about a group of Galileans that were killed in the temple courts. And they're saying, the Galileans who mingled their blood with our sacrificial blood. Now then, we have the Jews there that are trying to get Jesus to condemn them and say, obviously they must be wicked because something bad happened to them. But Jesus doesn't fall into that trap. He responds with, were those Galileans more wicked than the other Galileans? Alluding to their prejudice against their northern counterparts. And then he goes on to say, I tell you no, unless you repent, you too shall perish. And he says, what about the 18 who died in the Tower of Siloam when it collapsed? He says, were they wicked? I tell you no, unless you repent, you too shall perish. But is Jesus just repeating himself? No. Actually, the repent used there, though the root is the same. The first time he uses it, it means to have a change of heart and stop doing the stuff you were doing. Repent, or you too shall perish. But the second time he tells them to repent, he's telling them to turn away and do not turn back to your old ways. Repent, or you too shall perish. Now, the big thing that jumped out at me, and this is what Jesus was chastising them about, was they were overly concerned about sins in others. We see that a lot in the Pharisees. He's like, no, you need to be tending your own house, your own sins. Well, that was in. What about today? How does that apply to us? How does that apply to you? How does that apply to me? Well, we sin. And we should be spending all of our time trying to repent. I know I have to repent constantly. I fall, I get up, I try again. I fall, I get up, I try again. I keep trying, I keep asking for more strength and more forgiveness because I need it. So when we are busy repenting, then we're doing what Jesus has said to do. When we are trying not to sin and we're concerned with our own sin, we really don't have time to be pointing out sin in others. We see this when Jesus talks about the stick versus the beam and trying to get a sty out of somebody's eye when you have a beam in your own eye. It just doesn't work. So, the two greatest commandments, love God and then love everybody else. We're busy loving everybody else. We're not going to be worried about their sin. We're going to be worried about how to show our love to them. And I think that's a lesson that we need to learn here. Look to our own house, set the example, and when you do reach out to others that need help, do it with compassion and love. Thank you. Blessings.